Joining us now to discuss, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and
soon
co-author.
to be the chairman of that committee.
Yes, I love it. Co-author of the new book, 13 Soldiers, Senator John McCain joins us. What a pleasure to have you here, Senator.
Thank you. It's great to be with you all, and thanks for helping the Marines celebrate their birthday.
They love seeing you.
Yeah.
It's, one of my sons was a Marine and fought in Iraq, and all of our servicemen and women are wonderful, and our Marines are a very interesting group.
Senator, I got to ask you about the president. Right after the election, the president announced 1,500 more troops in there. They're walking on the ground. They can't levitate. Are they fighting?
Now we are parsing words, whether they're combat troops or troops on the ground or advice. Look, he's going to have to send more. We are not winning, and it's just a fact. We have.
He says it's phase 2.
Well, look. We're not winning there. We are going to have more boots on the ground because the only way you can really identify targets is to have boots on the ground. You're going to have more trainers in there. But General Odierno has said that Chief Staff of the Army and others have said you may need many thousands more as far as trainers are concerned, special forces, and ISIS continues to win. Look, this is a failed policy. It cannot succeed. They're looking at Iraq as one conflict and Syria as another. Do you think ISIS looks at it as two separate conflicts?
No. Just look at the name. Yeah, I mean, they don't see it that way at all. But we're already so far behind because of this lack of resolve and leadership to do the right thing. And I don't understand, because you're going to put troops on the ground. We should have had them to begin with the status of forces agreement. So that was a fail right there. And then now we've got Syria complicating it.
Which every one of our leaders who were there at the time say we could have had a residual force behind, a stabilizing force behind, which this whole scenario wouldn't have been repeated. By the way, we're going to see the same movie in Afghanistan unless we leave a stabilizing force there.
And in 2016, we're totally out, by the way.
In 2008, the reason why the President of the United States is president today is he voted against the Iraq War resolution. Hillary Clinton voted for it. That helped him get the nomination. So he came to the presidency saying he's going to get out of everywhere. And look, and he has been, I got to hand it to him, he's done that to a degree. Look at the world in 2009 and look at the world today. My friends, it is dramatically shifted in favor of the forces of radical Islam, the forces of terror, and there are now direct threats to the United States of America.
Well, we're talking about war, and that's appropriate given that tomorrow is Veterans Day, and you've got this new book out called 13 Soldiers. These are not supermen and women. These are people, ordinary people, who were pressed into service for our nation, but did amazing things.
Amazing things, and all of them didn't end up so well, and all of them weren't perfect people. Our guy in the Mexican War spent most of his time in his memoirs bragging about the romantic liaisons that he had. Our Revolutionary War Joseph Martin, he was only 15, and when you read, he wrote his memoirs, they were always hungry. It was such an incredible...
Freezing and hungry.
Yeah, terrible conditions.
Yeah, ill-clothed, hungry, and were not well-treated after the war was over.
See, Senator, in my humble opinion, we spend so much time on the officers. We don't spend enough time on the people that fight, the nameless, the faceless, the one that overcome the fear. And that's what you did in this book. People are fearful when they get into battle, but they overcome it.
And we have stories of a couple of very brave women. One, a medic that went into after an IED and saved lives without ever a weapon of herself, which is interesting, showing, in my view, that women can perform in combat just as well as men can. I'm sure you can agree with it.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Agree with that. So we tried to write about people, ordinary people who did extraordinary things, but not necessarily, you know, we look at a lot of our heroes as perfect, and many of these individuals were imperfect. One of my favorite is Charles Black, who was an African-American, fought in the War of 1812 on board a ship where sometimes, by the way, in those days, 20 to 30% of the crews of our fighting ships were African-American, and spent time in prison, and then unfortunately was badly beaten in a race riot many years later.
Well, the book is called 13 Soldiers, A Personal History of Americans at War. John McCain and Mark Salter helped you out with the book substantially.
Yes, substantially.
All right.
Yes.
Senator,
what a great pleasure. If only he was president. How the world would be different.
And thanks for your years at war, Senator, and what you're doing now. Thanks so much. Coming up straight